Hello friends, why should Indians be interested in Canadian elections? If you go to see, these elections are actually in an inflection point. India-Canada relationships in the last 18 months, it sort of bottomed out at the end of last year when the expulsion of the top Indian diplomats and was equivalent of the nuclear options in diplomacy. If you decapitate the Indian diplomatic leadership, the High Commissioner, the Consul General of Toronto, all expelled so that it reached to its bottom point. India didn't respond so harsh this time as it did the first time 2.5 years ago. This time India said, let's not let it sink deeper. So what has India said? That was essentially a Trudeau problem, a Trudeau government problem. And at least India will act mature this time. So everything else remained as it is, but only expulsion of the top diplomats. But the government-to-government relationships plunged. Now let's say more. Now what we hope out of this is that elections, which is coming on Monday, whether it's Mark Carney or Pierre Poilievre, we have an inflection point where we can take these relations to a better place and both sides get more space. I think India genuinely has a Canada problem because some Canadian politicians don't understand India of the Indian origin. There is a single group of people of Indian origin who don't like to call themselves Indian because it hurts them a lot, because have such a disproportionate influence on the Canadian body politics, which I think India foreign policy is just living in denialism. It is to be fixed sooner than later. But this election is going to be a real test for Canadian democracy. But the poll shows that Liberals are making a mark over Conservatives. Right after the Mark Carney entry, it seems Canada had a Trudeau problem, not Liberals. However, this election is very important for Canada. This is an inflection point elections, not just for India-Canada relations of Canadian-US relationships, but the Canada's place in the world. But for the Canadian space to the world, because Canada's next Prime Minister from the May will have a great deal with a completely newly defined foreign relationships. Canada will have to define its place in the world. So Canada will have to work as its national interest, not just diaspora interest and not just narrow interest, but independent sort of relationships. If Canada wants to strengthen their economy, then new government has to improve the relationships with India and take it forward.